Don't drink that, Maya whispered, her voice crisp with urgency, delivered not in English, but in perfect Italian. Marcus Langston froze, the rim of the crystal glass brushing his bottom lip. His fingers, once steady, trembled slightly as he slowly lowered the glass to the side table. His eyes snapped to Maya, and for the briefest moment, confusion overtook the usual calm confidence of a man who had built one of the most powerful cybersecurity empires in America. Italian from her. Maya, barely 25, was a housemaid. Hired just 4 months ago. Quiet, punctual, polite. But Italian fluency? That didn't fit. It didn't fit at all. What did you just say? He barked, his voice louder than intended. Several guests turned their heads, startled. The music from the string quartet paused just a beat too long. I said, Maya began, her voice shaky now, don't drink that. I believe it's been tampered with. Marcus's face flushed. Are you out of your mind? He hissed, stepping closer. You're a maid. This is a $10,000 bottle of whiskey. You don't give me orders. I'm sorry, sir, she stammered, her hands trembling. I just thought. You thought, what? He thundered. That you could interrupt me in front of senators and foreign investors because you watch too many spy shows. The accusation hung in the air. Guests were watching now, pretending not to, but definitely watching. Maya's breath came faster, but she stood her ground. I have proof, she said, fumbling with her phone. Please, just look. Marcus hesitated, nostrils flaring. But something in her voice, and not the words, but the steadiness beneath the fear made him pause. He reached for the phone. On the screen, grainy footage from the kitchen hallway taken moments earlier. It showed a man in a bartender's uniform slipping a small object into his palm before preparing Marcus' signature drink. A silver ring of light from the surveillance camera briefly reflected off the vial as he tilted it toward the bottle. This story moved you even a little. Hit the like button to show your support for Maya's courage. And hey, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. You never know, someone just down the street might be watching, too. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories that remind us of the strength we all carry inside, brought to you by BUP Stories. Marcus stared, his jaw tight. The room around him blurred slightly. Then he looked up and caught a glimpse. There, near the service door, half concealed behind a heavy velvet curtain, stood a woman in an oversized trench coat and wide-brimmed hat. Her posture was too rigid for a guest. Her movements too calculated. She wasn't mingling. She was watching, hiding. Darren, Marcus growled, waving his security chief over. What is it? Darren said, his voice low. Marcus nodded toward the curtain. There, behind the door. Move now. But when Darren reached the spot, the woman was gone and only the faint smell of lavender lingered in the air. Marcus turned back to Maya, who stood pale and shaking, but still met his gaze. Where did you learn Italian? He asked sharply. My grandmother was from Florence, she said softly. She raised me. For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. He picked up the untouched glass, studied the amber liquid inside, and set it back down without drinking. The music resumed. The guests went back to their conversations. But Marcus Langston's world had just shifted, and the maid, who wasn't supposed to matter, had just saved his life. The door slammed shut behind them as Marcus stormed into his study. Darren close on his heels. Maya trailing behind like a shadow, hesitant to step too close to the fire. The ornate chandelier above them gave off a soft golden light, but the warmth was lost in the sharp tension thickening the air. Marcus paced like a man walking along the edge of a cliff. His steps were heavy. His brow furrowed so deeply it looked carved in stone. The decanter of whiskey still trembled on the sideboard of his memory, untouched, but no longer innocent. Do you understand what this means? Marcus barked, spinning around to face Maya. If you're wrong, if that video was a misunderstanding, this entire evening could implode. Maya swallowed hard. I know what I saw, and I know what I heard. And who the hell was that woman? Marcus demanded, pointing toward the hallway where the shadowed figure had disappeared. She wasn't on the guest list. I don't know, Maya said, her voice still soft but steady. But she was watching you the entire night like she was waiting. Marcus turned to Darren. I want every camera feed pulled right now. All angles, entrance, kitchen, bar, and send someone to sweep the back exits now. Darren nodded and disappeared into the hall, already tapping on his earpiece. Marcus turned back to Maya. He studied her for a long moment, like someone inspecting an encrypted file he couldn't crack. I underestimated you, he said finally, his voice quieter. That won't happen again, Mia didn't smile. I didn't do it to impress you. No, he admitted. You did it because you saw something I didn't. That's valuable, but it's also dangerous. There was a pause. Then, with deliberate movements, Marcus walked to his antique desk, opened a drawer, and took out a small velvet box. He handed it to her. What is this? Maya asked. Security clearance, a key card. It gets you into the second-floor archives and the surveillance control room. If you're going to be my eyes, I want you to see everything. Maya blinked. I thought you didn't trust me. I don't trust anyone, he said flatly. That's why I'm still alive. Oh. She held the box, surprised by the weight. Not just physical, but symbolic. This wasn't just access. It was a threshold, a crossing over. But this also means you're in, Marcus added. Which means if you lie to me again, it won't end in shouting. Maya nodded slowly. Understood. He turned away toward the massive window overlooking the Hudson. I built this company from a garage in Brooklyn. Before the venture capital, before the IPO, it was just me and a soldering iron. You think I'm afraid of some jealous ex-wife? You should be, Ma said, her voice careful. If that woman at the door was Veronica, she didn't come to talk. Marcus didn't respond. But his silence said enough. Downstairs, the party began to unravel. Guests whispered, noticing the host's absence. A few already checked their phones, sensing something strange in the air. The kind of unease that only follows power gone quiet. Maya lingered in the study, her fingers brushing the edge of a framed photo on the bookshelf. Marcus and Veronica in happier days taken in Rome. She recognized the plaza behind them, Piazza Nona. Her grandmother had once taken her there to feed pigeons and buy roasted chestnuts. That day felt like another life now. Her thoughts were interrupted by Darren's voice over the intercom. Sir, we've got something. They moved to the security console room, usually sealed, buried behind a false wall near the study. Darren pulled up footage from the hallway entrance. There, he pointed. Camera 3. Timestamp. 8 minutes before Maya intercepted the drink. The footage showed the bartender walking back from the side pantry. A woman in a beige trench coat stepping into view, whispering something to him, then subtly handing him something small. A moment later, the bartender reached under the bar, fiddled with a bottle out of view, and poured Marcus's signature drink. Marcus clenched his jaw. Is that Veronica? The footage zoomed in. The woman wore oversized sunglasses and a scarf obscuring most of her face, but her posture, the slight limp. It was familiar. Maya leaned in. She's older now, but that's her same gait. She used to favor her right hip, sciatic nerve damage. Remember, Marcus grunted, not ready to admit recognition. Pull up the rear exit cameras. Did she leave? Working on it, Darren said, switching feeds. Looks like she ducked out the staff corridor. No face shot. So, she knew the layout, Maya said, thinking aloud. She knew where to hide, where the cameras wouldn't see her. This wasn't impulsive. Marcus stood still like a lion trying to decide whether to hunt or retreat. Then, suddenly, he turned to Maya. How do I know you're not part of this? Mia didn't flinch. Because if I were, you'd be dead already. Silence stretched between them. Then Marcus let out a dry laugh. That's the most honest thing anyone said to me in years. late, entering with quiet grace. Their eyes met briefly. Maya sensed emotion, stirring a mixture of relief, regret, hope. After Marcus, Maya spoke. She shared her journey from housemaid to crisis leader. Her brush with threats and violence, her drive to protect lives beyond corporate value. She finished, voice steady. Accountability isn't weakness, it's strength. The crowd responded with applause. Veronica stepped forward unannounced. She addressed the audience softly. I left because I feared the empire was built on the wrong foundations. I returned because we can build it anew. She handed Marcus the final signed document. But amid the applause, Marcus spotted Julian Karras, former acquisitions head, watching from the back row. Julian had been convicted for insider conspiracy and sentenced in absentia, but had returned quietly under immunity to testify. Their eyes locked. Marcus nodded. Julian dropped his gaze, recognition, remorse, acceptance. That night, as the crowd dispersed, candlelight illuminated the estate's courtyard tables. Guests sipped wine and toasted the new pledge for transparency. Maya slipped away from the bustle to the balcony where Marcus joined her. Below them, Gregory Griggs and Dr. Harper were deep in conversation. Marcus handed Maya a glass. To beginnings. She raised her glass to trust regained. He looked at her earnestly. I can't go back to the man hiding behind walls. Because of you and because of what we started today, I know I won't. Maya nodded, tears glimmering in the light. We don't go back. We go forward. They toasted. The city skyline spread beyond them. A symbol of power harnessed responsibly. Later, as guests emptied, Mia headed inside. She paused by the library door. Veronica was there quietly packing her coat. Good night, Veronica said softly. Thank you, Maya replied. For everything, Veronica paused. Then, placing an envelope on the mantel, she said. For your mother. Maya took it. Inside was a check, enough to secure her mother's future, plus a note. You deserve safety financially and in peace. Maya looked up. Veronica nodded and faded into the night air. In the quiet library, Marcus and Maya sat side by side. The fire had burned low. He placed a folder before Maya. Blueprints for a Global Foundation, Integrity International. You'll lead it, he said. Maya opened it. Eyes on the plans, then up at him. Together, he smiled softly. Together. They leaned into the night, partners not just in work but in purpose, to protect others from truth's orphan edges. Armed now with accountability, resilience, and the promise of a new world built on transparency. The fight for privacy and justice would continue. But for the first time, they weren't fighting alone. And in that echo of truth, they found not defeat, but reconciliation and the real beginning of hope. Winter's thaw had given way to early summer warmth, and Manhattan's Riverside Drive was alive with newfound energy. After weeks of strategic meetings, public hearings, and global press releases, Langston Systems and its Integrity International Foundation had begun to shape a new framework for ethical AI and corporate transparency. Amidst it all, Maya and Marcus found themselves navigating uncharted territory, not just professionally, but personally. That morning, Marcus walked into the library-turned-strategy room with a soft determination in his eyes. Maya was already seated at the long oak table, laptops open, board documents front and center, sunlight spilled through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating pages marked with red highlighter, notes crowded with ideas, rough drafts highlighting the future they were building. It's official, Marcus announced, gently setting a leather-bound binder before her. The Foundation's incorporation papers, vouched endorsements, security clearance protocol, all signed and sealed. Integrity International is now a legal entity in 3 countries. First grant allocations hit next week. Maya exhaled, eyes still fixed on the documents. We did it. It's real. He nodded, but his gaze drifted to the city skyline. We did, but this is when the real work begins. For Maya, the gravity of that moment, foundation built on revelations, betrayals, and the blurred shadows of moral courage hit like a tidal wave. She looked at Marcus, her partner forged in crisis, the man who trusted her when few did, and who had given her a purpose far beyond walls and whispers. "We're not just closing a chapter," she replied. "We're writing a whole new book." They dove into planning. First, a pilot program. Community centers in Harlem and London designed to teach citizens about digital privacy and tools for identifying AI misinformation. Next, partnerships with universities to develop an ethical AI certification for corporations and integrity seal to be awarded to companies that met transparency and accountability standards. Amid brainstorming, Marcus stood and fetched 2 mugs of tea. He returned and sat across from Maya. He looked beyond her, pulling words from a place older than business. "I want you to know this with you has been the best part." Maya set her pen down, feeling a familiar shift inside. "I feel the same." He paused a delicate beat. "I'm glad you stayed." She smiled, quiet and strong. "I didn't stay because I had to. I stayed because I wanted to." The space between them felt new, a distance closed, but chords still unwritten. Their conversation was interrupted by Darren's voice over the secure line. "You have a visitor." Moments later, Veronica entered. She looked different this time, lighter, relieved, and yet her presence carried a gravity of transformation. She crossed the room, eyes meeting Ma's with something unspoken. Then turned to Marcus. "I'm here to help," she said, voice steady. He nodded. "We need your insight on the European rollout. The data sharing frameworks are different. We're expanding Integrity International across EU markets." Veronica sat and opened her own laptop. "I've been talking to Privacy Nos in Berlin and Paris. They've got drafts. If we adapt our protocols, we can align with GDPR and new AI directives." Maya joined in coordinating Veronica's research on regulation with global consultation. Darren updated them on CME feedback and corporate requests for membership. The synergy in that room, 3 people born from conflict, now building a common platform, felt almost surreal. By noon, they had mapped the first international conference in Berlin with guest speakers from academia, government, and civil rights movements representing people aged 45 and above who understood too well the cost of unchecked power, racism, and institutional betrayal. Later in the afternoon, Maya and Marcus attended a Senate hearing on the Integrity Charter U.S. companion bills. Among the spectators were families of privacy advocates, legal scholars, and representatives of formerly targeted communities, including survivors from Marcus' hometown and a local NAACP chapter representative who had followed Mia's journey. Mia watched as Marcus delivered testimony with precision and humility. Unlike his earlier press conference, this was sober and structured. He referenced community feedback, acknowledged continued vulnerabilities, and pledged foundation-led oversight. She felt pride, but also the weight of their ambition. The bills would create the board, establish whistleblower protections, and offer citizen redress pathways. His words resonated with seasoned lawmakers, but also with people who had lived through surveillance abuses. After the hearing, Maya found herself speaking with the representative from the NAACP. The man in his mid-60s thanked her. "It's not often we see someone from here, from my neighborhood, at these tables. You've done more than just policy work. You've stood in the line for us." Her eyes misted. "It's shared responsibility, and we're just beginning." That night, back at the estate, they debriefed. Veronica reported on EU partners, Darren on US funding committees, Maya on outreach feedback. Marcus proposed a private gala at the Met in 2 months to announce grant recipients, showcase early results, and solidify cross-sector alliances. As they planned, Maya reflected on how far they'd come from poisoning threats at a gala to boardroom betrayals to chasing shadows across continents and now positioning themselves as architects of a new digital age. She went upstairs later and found Marcus on the balcony. The city lights glimmered below in the summer hush. He held 2 glasses of iced green tea. He handed her one. They spoke quietly, listening to the distant hum of evening traffic. "What scares you?" he asked. She considered, looking over the water. "That we'll compromise. Lose our edge. That bureaucracy will suffocate our message." He nodded. "We'll have to guard that." She leaned into him, shoulders soft. Promise me we won't lose sight of why we started. He kissed her head. I promise. As they stood together on the balcony, the city stretching before them like a promise and a warning. Maya thought about her mother in Brooklyn. Safe, supported. Veronica rebuilding in Europe. Julie and Carr arriving under immunity. A chance at redemption. Senator Griggs and Dr. Harper committed. Candle point broken. And somewhere the ember of trust glowing across communities. Their foundation wasn't just an institution. It was a beacon. And now somewhere beyond tomorrow, someone would believe again that privacy matters. They lifted their glasses in unspoken unity. To the next chapter. And as they did, the skyline shimmered with hope. And not just for them, but for the voices yet unheard, stories yet untold, and digital worlds yet to be humanely governed. The fight continued. But this time it was building, not breaking, nurturing, not destroying. And that was the true reckoning of their journey. Summer had settled fully over New York City, and the Langston estate hummed with renewed energy. Through the open windows, the murmurs of the East River mixed with the rustle of roses climbing the terrace walls. Inside, the Integrity International Executive Office buzzed with purpose. Maya stood before a wall of screens displaying global outreach metrics. Marcus, arms folded, reviewed a live feed panel from Berlin. Veronica consulted quietly with a visiting EU delegate. Their alliance born in crisis now shone as an emblem of transformative leadership. At 10 a.m. the summit opened. Marcus took the stage, addressing hundreds in the Oval Garden setup and thousands more via livestream. Welcome to the inaugural Global Summit for Ethical AI and Transparency, he began. We're here to redefine trust in technology, in institutions, in people. Today, we share progress, face challenges, and forge commitments stronger than words alone. He introduced Veronica to present core principles of the Integrity Charter, followed by Maya's keynote community-led accountability in the digital age. As Maya spoke about Harlem's pilot board, mobile workshops, and how grassroots wisdom shaped technological safeguards, she saw nods, notes digitally shared, and eyes lighting up with kinship. Among the speakers was an elder activist who developed a curriculum for seniors, offering digital literacy tailored for older adults. Their applause was heartfelt. During a lunch break, Maya joined Veronica and Marcus at a long wooden table. Plates of seasonal produce and local fish awaited them. Veronica raised a glass. To us who built something real. Marcus smiled. To every voice we've listened to along the way. Maya touched her mug. To everyone who helped us earn it. Their reflections were interrupted by Senator Griggs taking his seat beside them. Maya Marcus Brava, your summit sets a new direction for policy. The bipartisan bill now has co-sponsors from 4 additional states. He turned to Veronica. And your European coalition is drafting cross-border enforcement protocols. Your contribution was critical. Veronica nodded. We still have work to align GDPR and US standards, but we're making progress. They spoke late into the afternoon about upcoming international committees, public workshops, and digital tools that families could use to report AI misuse. Their unity, once fragile, was now strong and expansive. In the evening, the summit concluded with a candlelight vigil in the garden. Participants lit candles from a communal flame, a symbolic gesture. Collective candle bearing in the fight against darkness. Voices rose in unison. A chant for responsibility and care. Marcus stepped forward. Tonight these lights signify our shared commitment. In the face of today's challenges, let our candle shine for every person who deserves safety, clarity, and dignity. Maya and Veronica followed, lighting their candles together, hands brushing, their eyes met not only as allies, but as something deeper. Co-creators of a legacy that would outlast risks, threats, betrayals. Later, after guests dispersed, Marcus, Maya, and Veronica lingered by the final lit candles. The city lay beyond the wrought iron fence, lights, smaller echoes of ideals they guarded. Veronica spoke softly. All this resonance makes it worth it. Maya stepped close. We did what we set out to do and we've helped countless others find their voice. Marcus looked at both of them. You turned chaos into purpose. This was never just about saving a company. It's about changing the world. The three stood together as the first summit came to a close. There were smiles, tears, perhaps promises unspoken, but also awareness. Their work would continue. Horizons would widen, challenges would grow. Before parting for the night, Marcus handed Maya a small wrapped box. She unwrapped it and found a simple silver pin engraved with the Integrity International logo. You wear it, he said. Not because you need it, but because you earned it. Mia placed it on her lapel. Veronica and Marcus shared a glance. The next morning, Mia returned to Harlem. She visited the community center, watching elders laugh as they learned video call basics. Children proudly showed parents how to spot misinformation via mobile apps. Maya's mother greeted her with fresh coffee and wide smile. You look tired, she said. But you look happy. Mia hugged her mother. We're on our way, Mom. We're making a difference. A month later, newspapers and journals carried stories of volunteer groups adopting Integrity International's curriculum in Southeast Asia and South America. Universities.